Imagine this. You are standing in front of her, not touching, not flirting, not trying too hard, just talking. And in that quiet space between words, there is something she feels, something she cannot explain. Most men never learn why a woman falls for someone's voice, not their face, someone's words, not their looks. Because attraction does not start with beauty. It starts with feeling understood. And the right compliment, spoken the right way, does not just touch her ego. It pierces her heart. This is not surface-level dating advice. This is emotional strategy, psychological connection, and the subtle art of making a woman feel something she cannot ignore. Here is the truth. Every woman has heard a million empty compliments. You are beautiful. Nice smile. Wow, you look great. It is noise, just noise. It fades the second it is said. But there are compliments, rare ones, that do not disappear. They stay with her. They play in her mind hours later. They make her replay your voice when she is alone, when nobody is watching. And that is where attraction is born, not in the moment, but in the echo. Because real compliments have nothing to do with describing her. They make her feel seen. Women do not fall for admiration. Women fall for recognition. When a man notices something nobody else notices, he creates a doorway into her emotions. And once you walk through that doorway, she cannot see you the same way again. The philosopher John Locke, though not a Stoic, observed that the mind is furnished with ideas by experience alone. And the experience of being truly seen, of having a man notice something about her that no one else has ever noticed, furnishes her mind with an idea she cannot forget. That idea becomes associated with you, and that association is the foundation of emotional attachment. But before you ever say a word, understand this. Women are masters of emotional radar. They sense intention. If you compliment to impress her, she will hear it in your tone. If you compliment to get approval, she will feel it in your energy. But if you compliment because you genuinely observed something rare, something real, something almost hidden, that is when her guard lowers. Not because she wants to, but because her mind loses the ability to protect itself from authenticity. Consider a practical scenario. She is talking, telling a story about her life, her dreams, something she cared about. Most men stare at her lips or her hair, but you listen. You watch the way her voice softens when she cares, the way her eyes light up when she remembers something beautiful, the way she laughs, not because something is funny, but because she is trying to hide how much something matters. And when you speak, you do not compliment her body, you compliment her soul. The philosopher Simone Weil, whose work on attention and grace has been widely studied, wrote that attention is the rarest and purest form of generosity. When you give a woman your attention, when you truly listen to her, you are offering her a form of generosity that most men never give. And that generosity is what opens the door to her heart. Because here is the secret. A woman does not fall for the man who tells her she is beautiful. She falls for the man who makes her forget every time she ever doubted herself. The first compliment that does this is the one that tells her something about herself she never expected you to notice. Not beauty, not style, not looks, but presence, depth, heart. Women are surrounded by men who only see the surface. The man who sees underneath is the one she cannot get out of her head. So before we dive into the first compliment, remember this. You are not trying to make her like you. You are giving her an emotional experience. You are giving her a feeling she did not see coming. And once a woman feels something powerful in your presence, she chases the source of that feeling, even if she does not realize she is doing it. The philosopher Søren Kierkegaard, in his exploration of the human psyche, observed that anxiety is the dizziness of freedom. When a woman feels seen by you, she experiences a kind of freedom, the freedom to be herself without pretense. And that freedom, accompanied by the anxiety of vulnerability, is what makes her want to stay close to you. The first compliment that makes a woman fall, sometimes without even realizing it, is the one that touches her identity. Not who she looks like, but who she is. Because every woman carries two versions of herself, the one the world sees and the one she hides. When a man sees the hidden version, she feels exposed, but in the most intoxicating way. Imagine this moment. She is laughing, talking, maybe telling a story she does not think is important. And while most men just hear the words, you hear the meaning. You tell her, "You know what I noticed? You care. Even when you do not say it out loud, you feel things deeply." She will not expect it, not from you, not from anyone, because that compliment is not about her appearance. It is about her emotional DNA. It tells her, you see the softness she tries to guard, the strength she hides behind her smile, the sensitivity she does not always admit. Most men compliment what is obvious. You compliment what is invisible. And the crazy part is that she will replay that sentence later. She will lie in bed and hear it again. Because deep down, every woman wants to be understood more than she wants to be admired. That is the psychology behind it. Human attraction is driven by emotional validation. When someone recognizes the part of us we think no one sees, they gain access to our trust. And once trust opens, attraction follows like a shadow. Consider a real-world application of this principle. You are at a dinner party or a casual gathering. She is recounting a story about a difficult decision she had to make at work. She frames it as a simple anecdote, but you notice the subtle tension in her jaw, the way her hands moved when she described the pressure. Later, when you have a moment alone, you say, "You know, listening to you tell that story, I could tell that decision was heavier than you let on. You really carried that weight." She will pause. She will look at you differently, because you did not just hear her words, you heard her burden. And that is rare. That is the kind of observation that creates a bond that cannot be broken. But here is where the dark psychology twists in. She will not just feel good about what you said. She will start noticing the way you see her. She will compare the way you listen to the way others do not. Her mind will begin to ask questions she cannot ignore. Why does he notice these things about me? How did he catch what everyone else missed? Why do I feel safe with him and a little scared at the same time? Because there is power in being seen, and there is danger in it, too. When a woman feels understood, she becomes vulnerable. And vulnerability is the doorway to attachment. The second compliment is even stronger because it builds something deeper than emotion. It builds admiration. You say to her, "I like the way you think." Not "you are right," not "you are smart," but the way she thinks. That sentence is magnetic. It tells her her mind is attractive, her perspective matters, her thoughts have value. And the moment a woman feels intellectually desired, she forms a bond that physical attraction cannot beat. She will start thinking differently around you, talking differently, opening up more because you made her feel powerful, not for how she looks, but for how she sees the world. Imagine this application. You are having a conversation about something meaningful. Politics, art, the future, anything that reveals her perspective. She makes a point that is thoughtful, even if it is not fully formed. You do not rush to agree or disagree. You pause, and then you say, "I really like the way you think about that." You see angles that most people miss. She will feel that. She will feel that you respect her intellect. And for a woman who is used to being valued for her appearance, being valued for her mind is a profound experience. The third compliment, the one that cuts deepest, is not about her mind or her emotions. It touches a part of her that even she does not talk about. That is where the real connection, the powerful, unforgettable kind begins. The third compliment is the most dangerous, the most intimate, and the one she will never forget, even if she tries. Because this compliment does not describe her mind or her emotions. It describes her impact. And impact is where love is born. You look at her, not in a dramatic way, not in a poetic performance, but in a quiet, sincere moment, and you say, "You know what is crazy?" You change the energy of a room without even trying. It is not "you are attractive," it is not "you are charming," it is deeper. You are not talking about how she looks. You are talking about the effect she has on the world around her. Most people go through life feeling invisible, unnoticed, replaceable. Even beautiful women feel this more than you think. But when you tell a woman she has presence, something shifts inside her, because presence cannot be faked. Presence means she matters. Presence means people feel her even before they understand her. And suddenly, she is not thinking about what she looks like. She is thinking about who she becomes when she is around you. The philosopher Martin Heidegger, whose work on being and presence has influenced modern psychology, wrote that human beings are characterized by their capacity to be present to themselves and to others. When you acknowledge a woman's presence, you are acknowledging her being in its most fundamental form. You are saying, "I see you as a force in the world." And that is deeply powerful. Imagine this scenario. You are at a gathering with friends. She is quiet for a moment, observing the room. You notice that when she speaks, people listen. You notice that her energy shifts the mood. Later, you say to her, "Do you realize that when you walk into a room, everything settles? There is something about your presence that makes people calm." She will not know how to respond. Not because she is offended, but because no one has ever said that to her. She has been told she is pretty. She has been told she is smart. But she has rarely, if ever, been told that her very existence affects people. And that is the kind of compliment that makes her feel deeply connected to you. That is psychology. When you compliment a woman's impact, her brain associates that impact with your voice, your presence, your perception. And the moment your voice becomes tied to her confidence, she stops wanting attention from the world and starts wanting it from you. Consider the science. The brain's reward system is activated by social recognition. When someone acknowledges your impact, the brain releases dopamine, the same neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and motivation. Over time, she will associate that dopamine release with you. She will literally want to be around you because you make her feel good about herself on a level that is rare and intoxicating. But here is where the dark psychology gets interesting. Women do not fall for compliments. They fall for the man who gives them. If your compliment feels rare, intelligent, and emotionally precise, she starts to feel that you are rare, intelligent, and emotionally precise. And that changes everything. She will begin noticing the way you observe the world, the way you speak, the way you listen. She will start seeing you through a different lens, not as a man trying to impress her, but as a man who feels her on a level she did not expect. Because a woman's deepest desire is not to be admired. It is to be understood. A beautiful woman hears compliments every day. But a woman who feels seen, she never forgets the man who saw her. And here is the part most men never realize. Real attraction does not begin when she smiles at your compliment. It begins when she thinks about it later. When she is driving home, when she is lying in bed, when she is replaying your voice without meaning to. The mind attaches to what it cannot explain. When she cannot figure out how you notice something about her no one else sees, she starts to crave the answer. And the answer is you. That is how emotional connection becomes attraction. That is how attraction becomes desire. And that is how desire becomes something stronger, something she cannot control, even if she wants to. Let us walk through a practical timeline of how this might unfold in real life. Day 1. You offer a sincere compliment about her way of thinking. She is surprised but appreciates it. Day 3. She catches herself thinking about that compliment when she is alone. Day 5. She feels drawn to talk to you again. Day 7. She starts opening up to you about something personal. Day 10. She is seeking you out. That is the progression. That is how a single, well-timed, genuine compliment can set in motion a chain of events that leads to deep emotional connection. The philosopher John Dewey, who wrote extensively on experience and education, observed that human beings learn through experience, and the experience of being truly seen is one of the most formative experiences a person can have. When you give a woman that experience, you become part of her personal history. You become someone who mattered. But there is one thing every man must understand. These compliments only work if you mean them. If you say them without emotion, they fall flat. If you say them to manipulate, she will feel the lie. But if you say them with presence, attention, and truth, you will not just impress her. You will change her. Because the most powerful compliment is the one that reveals a part of her she did not know was visible. And once a woman realizes you can see her, she will want to see you too. The philosopher Immanuel Kant, whose work on ethics and the categorical imperative emphasized treating others as ends in themselves, not means to an end, would agree that when you give a genuine compliment, you are treating her as an end. You are valuing her for who she is, not for what she can give you. That respect, that fundamental regard, is what creates lasting attraction. If you really think about it, the reason these compliments work is not because they are clever or poetic or beautifully phrased. It is because they tell a woman something she rarely hears in this world. I see you. Not the makeup, not the smile, not the surface, but the truth beneath it. Most men chase a woman's attention. A rare man earns her trust, and the rarest earns a place in her mind. If you notice her presence, her impact, her depth, her strength, her softness, she will feel that, and she will remember it. Because women do not fall for men who want their bodies. They fall for men who touch their emotions. Compliments that reach her mind change her thoughts. Compliments that reach her heart change her feelings. But compliments that reach her soul change the way she sees you forever. Let us explore one more level of depth. The ability to give these compliments requires a certain kind of presence, a way of being in the world that is attentive and observant. It requires you to be fully engaged in the moment, to listen not just to her words, but to her energy, her body language, her pauses. It requires you to be curious about her as a person, not just as a potential partner. That curiosity is what sets you apart. Most men are so focused on themselves, on their own performance, that they miss the person in front of them. When you are genuinely curious, you become someone she wants to open up to. The philosopher Max Scheler, who wrote extensively on the phenomenology of sympathy and love, observed that love is a movement toward the other person's value. When you compliment a woman from a place of genuine appreciation, you are moving toward her value. You are acknowledging something that makes her unique, and that movement is what creates the space for love to grow. If this video helped you understand attraction on a deeper level, then do not just watch and leave. Subscribe to the channel, because here you do not learn tricks, you learn the emotional science of human connection. And the next video could be the one that changes everything for you. Stay curious, stay patient, and remember, the right words do not just make her smile. The right words make her fall. Thanks for watching. Until next time.